I'm going to talk to you about proportional reasoning and the different times that you have used it. It is proportional reasoning when you worked with equivalent fractions back in elementary school. Then in grade 8 we did some work with ratios and making ratios equivalent using proportions. In your grade 9 year you took these proportions and used algebra to solve using cross products. And then in math 10 we're going to be using conversion factors. A very simple example of equivalent fractions would be like taking 3/4 and we would ask you, what is it over 8? And you learned that 4 times 2 would give us the 8, and because you have to do the same to the top as you do to the bottom, then you figured out you would also have to multiply the 3 by 2 to get 6. So we would say then that 3/4 is equivalent to 6 over 8. The next time you encounter proportions, when you worked with ratios, a ratio of 3 to 4 is one ratio. What is the equivalent ratio? X to 8. Of course, we said the easiest way to solve this would be to form equivalent fractions. So we changed it to 3 over 4 equals x over 8. And then you would do the same method as number 1 here of solving this, what's now called a proportion. Notice how it looks very similar to equivalent fractions. The third time you used it was using proportions forming cross products. So we had 3 over 4 is the same as x over 8, and you learned that you could form the cross product 3 times 8 equals 4 times x, and then if you were to solve for x, you would divide both sides by 4. You would get 24 divided by 4 is equal to x, or x equals 6. Notice that converting these fractions to equivalent fractions, we multiplied in this first example 3/4 by 2 over 2 to get 6 over 8. Notice where that 2 comes from. It is 8 divided by 4. So now we're going to be using this a conversion factor to work with units. Here's an example. What do we need to do to convert 72 inches is how many feet? If you know that 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. You can start by forming proportions. So we have 72. Here's how you would set up how to convert 72 inches into feet. If 1 foot is the same as 12 inches, then how many feet is the same as 72 inches? You can form your cross product and then divide 72 times 1 foot equals 12x. Then you would divide by 12. You would get x because the 12's cancel. X is equal to 72 times this 1, which is 72, divided by 12, and my units are feet. And I would get x equals 6 feet. Therefore, 72 inches equals 6 feet. So that's using the method of proportions or equivalent fractions. But let's have a look at this conversion factor. If we take a look at this 1 foot over 12 inches, that would be called your conversion factor. Using conversion factors to solve this very same equation, you start with what you know, which would be 72 inches. So you use the conversion factor that relates inches to feet. And we want feet on top, and we want inches on the bottom. We know that 1 foot equals 12 inches, so I'm going to divide both sides by 12 inches and get that 1, which is 12 over 12, is equal to 1 foot is equivalent to 12 inches. So this is my conversion factor. It is nothing more than the number 1, and I'm going to multiply 72 inches by 1 foot over 12 inches. And then I would get 72 times 1 divided by 12 feet, which is 6. So here's another example. What if I knew that I had 140 inches and I want to convert that to feet? So 140 inches, I know that I need inches on the bottom and I need the relationship to feet. So 1 foot is equivalent to 12 inches. My inches will cancel. I'm left 100 times 1 by 12, and the answer will end up in feet. So now I need to calculate this. 140 divided by 12 equals. So it looks like 11.6 repeating feet. What is that in feet and inches? So there's different ways of doing this. This is going to be 11 whole feet and some part of a foot. We need to convert this part here to inches. Two ways to do this. 11 feet times 12 inches will tell me how many inches there are in 11 feet. So 11 times 12 equals 132. What's left over is 140 take away 132 to give you 8 inches. 140 inches equals 11 feet 8 inches. Since I have this number on a calculator, I'll show you a different way. I'm going to just get my number back. Equals 11.66, which I had before, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 11.6 repeater and subtract the whole number part. The whole number part is 11, so I'm going to subtract 11 equals, that's the 0.66 part, 6 repeating feet, and then I'm going to convert the other way. There are 12 inches in 1 foot. My feet cancel, and so I multiply this number that's still on my calculator. I'm not going to round off. I'm just going to multiply it by 12. Times 12 equals, and there's 7.9999 inches. There's round off errors in my calculator. This is going to be 8 inches.